Hi, welcome to Noise in the Gallery, an inspirational podcast. My name is Joy Nkoyo and I'm a musician from London. For this podcast, I want to take a dive into the minds of some of the most fascinating, innovative musicians I know. We'll be discussing their influences, their journey into music and creative process, and I'm hoping to pick up some new ideas along the way. If you want to get inspired with me, stick around.
I would just spend hours and hours and multiple nights and days just trying stuff out. I really didn't know what I was doing, really. It was a piece of crap. The music that I produced was not good, but it was just a way of channeling my emotions and finding a voice for myself, I guess, at that time that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
And I think for the first time I ever felt this feeling of passion, true passion. This year, it was the first time I was actually
willing to
put myself out there. And it felt a bit relieving. I'm constantly evolving. I feel like I'm getting more confident. This exchange of energy.
Yes.
I've never had that before because I haven't played such a big show before yet. But just feeling this synergy between you and the crowd and the music. It was just amazing.
Producer, DJ, songwriter and vocalist Mona Yim is a Chinese-German polymath that commands attention. Her intrinsic link to rhythm and music spans over a decade before she introduced her electronic persona, Mona Yim, to the world just over a year ago. In her latest form, her music tells stories layered within analogue drum machines, chopped vocal melodies, emotive synth and bass-laden beats. She's behind remixes of DJ Seinfeld for Ninja Tune, Glass Animals and Model Man, as well as her own EP, Dot Obsession, inspired by Yayoi Kusama. Already performing at iconic venues all over the world, the year ahead looks to be even more promising. So today I'm with the amazingly talented Mona Yim, who's come all the way from Berlin, and I've been spending some time with her here in London. And we're just going to have a chat about music and what she's been up to and her journey. And so, yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much
agreeing
for
to do
this.
So you've had quite an insane year so far. Mona started DJing about a year ago and has already played insane venues like Brixton Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it's Electric Brixton, right?
No, Brixton Academy.
Oh, it's Brixton Academy. The Velodrome in Berlin. Give me some more. Where have you played the last year? Because it's insane.
Printworks in London.
Yes.
I just played
Twice.
Digital Festival in Amsterdam. What else?
The Warehouse Project?
Warehouse Project in Manchester. Coco Club.
Coco Club, yeah, that was huge. So some pretty exciting,
a few things.
a few little gigs, a few little venues. But yeah, it's been a stellar start, but obviously a lot of work and groundwork has gone into that. So let's talk about your journey so far, sort of getting you to this point where everything's started to take off.
Let's go.
What were some of your most formative memories in music, some of your early experiences?
You mean from my upbringing?
Yeah, if music was a part of your upbringing.
I actually really grew into music from a really early age. I was when I was 3 years old, my parents put me into violin class, classical violin, and as well ballet and dancing classes. So it was which is obviously not music directly, but it's definitely
The discipline.
entangled to music.
Yeah.
And I think I had this drive to pursue music from such an early age.
Really?
Yeah, I was just I just loved it. It was part of me.
How old were you when you thought, this is what I want to do with my life?
I think because I used to play lots of violin. I used to play in orchestras. It was more around classical music. but I kind of like got a bit sick of it. Just the thing of
So you were having these like classical violin lessons from a very young age?
Yeah.
How old were you when you started?
I was 3 years old.
That's so young. Wow. I can't even imagine how small the violin would have been.
I can't even like really remember, to be honest. It was just like something I would do. I would play these competitions, and then with ballet, and I did some modern and jazz dance. We were like also touring. We went to like Japan, all over Europe, but it was just like something I would do, and not think about.
So it's just part in performing and being in the arts is like what all you know,
performing,
really.
And there was a part of me that wanted to really create, and it didn't feel like actually creating. It didn't feel like me, and I think it all switched when I got introduced to my first DAW.
Oh, okay.
When I realized, okay, I can actually make music myself.
What age was that when you came across? So, can you explain firstly what a DAW is? People who might not know.
So it's the software where you produce music and write music.
Like Logic,
Ableton, Pro Tools, all of these. Actually, my first experience was like when I got my very first computer. I think I was like 11 or something.
Cool.
And it had GarageBand on it.
Classic. GarageBand is like baby Logic kind of thing. Yeah,
literally. And I would like cut random Apple loops together with my favorite songs. I think that was like my very first producing experience, but it was obviously nothing serious. But later on, I think it was when I did my A-levels, like people were pressuring me, like, what are you gonna do? What's the next steps? And I kind of knew I wanted to do something creative, and I wanted to be around music because that was my passion all along. But I quickly realized I didn't want to like study the violin or something like that.
Okay, would that have been an option at that point? Were you at a bit of a crossroads? Like, do you go to classical conservatoire and do like that, or go down a more original music avenue?
I was looking at some schools and also like some other options of like things I could study. Many people said don't do music.
Was that your parents? Were they supportive?
They were actually supportive.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, you know.
Well, it's not a sensible life choice, let's put it that way. It's not safe.
It's not safe. But I think during that time, I was like 16, 17. I got introduced to Logic by my dad, who was actually also a producer, but like more hobby-wise. Okay, he collects synthesizers and stuff like that. So I kind of had that around me from like pretty early age on, but I only got interested in from like 16, 17 on.
Interesting. So did you ever like have a play on his synth? Did he let you when you were like really small?
No, only afterwards, like when I was like a bit more into it.
Okay.
When I was a bit more like responsible, you know what I mean?
Stay away from my modular synth.
Yeah, because it's expensive, you know?
Yes, yeah.
And it's kind of his like baby. But yeah, I think I didn't want to study. I was kind of a bit like, I did whatever I wanted in that time.
Rebellious streak.
A little bit. And then I really, because I didn't really know what to do. I knew I wanted to do music. But then when I got my like first deal, which was Logic at the time, I would just like spend hours and hours and multiple nights and days just like trying stuff out. I really didn't know what I was doing, really. It was a piece of crap. The music that I produced was not good, but it was just like a way of channeling my emotions and like finding a voice for myself, I guess, at that time that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
And I think for the first time I ever felt like this feeling of passion, like true passion. So then, like, my mom somehow found this study program where I tried to apply for university, and it was like with an exam, so we had to go through a few auditions, and I really didn't think I would make it, but somehow I made it.
Wow. Okay.
So I was like 17.
Can we rewind a little bit? I just wanted to know what age you were, like, when you found that passion, like 15, 16.
It was actually 16, 17, like right before
uni? Or do you have to study in Germany? Like, we have something here called A-levels.
Yeah, it was the time I did my A-levels. Okay. I finished at 17. And during that time, like, I was doing A-levels and music. I was like studying, and then like
in the nights.
In the nights I would like sit in Logic and write some random songs.
How did your grades go?
I mean, they were quite good actually.
Oh.
Apart from maths, I was really bad at maths.
Me too, though.
But it was okay. It was not like a
disaster. Well, somehow you managed to like do both, so that's really impressive.
So I managed to get my A-levels, but I also managed to get that like university.
That course that you found.
Course.
And was that Pop Academy? Or was that something before?
I was before, but I quickly changed to Pop Academy.
Oh, okay. So where was this course? Was that in Berlin or Mannheim?
No, it was like literally in the middle of nowhere. It was quite funny.
That's hilarious. So in terms of like playing, because in order to produce, I feel like an understanding of keyboards is quite useful. Would you say you ever learned the keys properly or had like piano lessons, or did you just kind of teach yourself how to build stuff using like the software mostly? Or
I definitely had some piano lessons when I was little.
There's a cute picture of Mona like on the keys, so I was curious.
God. Don't be fooled, I'm not good. I'm not good though. I was never really like good at piano.
But you need to get by.
I was really good at practicing like the violin. That was kind of my thing. But I kind of, when I was small, I didn't want to play piano. I really didn't want to, and now I regret it because
but violin is so much harder.
I think I could, but you don't really use the violin
in music production. Less so,
the piano is so much more helpful in terms of writing music and of any kind of sense. I think
it's not held you back, let's put it that way. And I think the thing with violin, to be really good at it from a young age, you have to have an incredible ear.
It's like intonation. It's a melody instrument, and you get like a sense of like how melodies sound, what sounds good. But I wish I would have practiced a little bit more of piano.
We're literally opposites, because violin was my first instrument.
Oh my God.
And I was horrible. I played for 10 years and was just bad.
But you're crazy good at the piano, so it
balances out. Hey?
You did everything right.
So you were at this course, this music production course. How did you find that? How long were you there for before you swapped to Pop Academy?
I did the course until the end. It was good. It was pretty. It was not like specificated on a specific topic. It was not. It was not. It was quite broad. So they had like sound design. They had like classical composition. They had like jazz.
Wow.
They had like a little bit of pop music, songwriting. But it was a bit from everything, you know what I mean? It was good because I was like so young and just to try everything out. But I think I really just didn't know what I was doing. And it changed when I came to London for an internship. during that time.
So that was before you did Pop Academy, when you came to London?
That was like right before I did Pop Academy.
Right, cool.
I did an internship at a music label in London. And
XL, right?
Yeah, XL Recordings, which was one of my favorite labels. And still is.
That's really cool that they let like a 17-year-old or 18-year-old come in and like.
It's literally 17 coming to London. It was fun.
That's so cool.
I think that was the first time I actually like experienced what the real music industry would be like, because the school that I went to was very artsy, very.
It was about the ideas.
Very broad.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of were left alone with
actually practically how to like take what you've learned and make a career out of it.
Yeah, there was no such thing, to be honest.
I found that as well, like studying music in different places. I went to Brit school, which was much more pop focused.
That's crazy.
And there was quite a lot of help in terms of the industry stuff, but the industry was changing so quickly that it was more based on like the older model of a label kind of discovers you and that's it, rather than self-promotion, social media. It was kind of slightly lagging, and so we all found like going into the music industry after kind of didn't represent what actually was coming. And then I did like classical stuff, and
oh my god,
and that was
I
much
forgot
more,
that you did all these things as well.
But I found the same thing. It was like great for exploring ideas and learning different kinds of stuff, but then you leave and you're like, so how does the industry work?
What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
How should I survive?
Yeah, like how do you talk to a label? What, like, how do you actually
how do I make a living? Yeah.
So how was it like doing an internship at XL? How long were you doing it?
It was just a short period.
And in London by yourself?
Some months. Yeah. It was just amazing to see like all these people were like so passionate about music and about their artists and about all the aspects of the music industry. It was just like nice to see, because I feel like also in the UK people have a bit of like a different vibe than in Germany in terms of the music. Everyone seemed so passionate. It was just like everyone was stressed, but it gave me a sense of like, oh, actually I think this is something I would like to do and pursue. Whereas before I was just like doing random stuff at university, not really knowing
how to get it anywhere,
where to go with it, and like
that's so interesting. I think that's really cool that you actually got out there into the industry so young and like had those valuable experiences, like hands-on, actually being in the room and learning that way. So that sort of sowed the seeds of London a bit for you.
Definitely, just really making connections with people and learning and experiencing it all.
Yeah.
I mean.
And then you went back to Berlin to do Pop Academy.
Pop Academy was in Mannheim.
Oh yeah, Mannheim, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, I did that, which is a different school. It's more about like, it's more focused on pop music.
Okay.
And more of the industry part of it. So we had a lot of like business classes and stuff, which was also great. But I feel like the same with the other school. The main thing that I took from it was just the people that I got to work with, the other students. I feel like some of the people are like my best friends now and collaborators, and that was extremely valuable.
Yeah, no, I think there's something in
more than the school itself.
Yeah, always. It's about people, this industry, and you know, people learn that in different ways at different times. But
you can teach yourself so much. You can learn so much from each other, and that was great.
Cool. So now we're getting close to when we actually met.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how that happened in terms of, so I was at the Roundhouse doing various stuff and then Simona was just there and I was like, hi.
I remember the day I met you.
Yeah, so
I was so shy.
I remember you were like wearing all black.
Oh God,
and
like looking goth girl. And you looked so cool. I was intimidated.
Oh God, you're kidding. The illusion has fallen, let me tell you. Nothing intimidating.
No, you're
here.
still a goddess.
So yeah, how did you find out about Roundhouse and all of that? Was it just
random? Oh my God,
I
can't even remember, to be honest. I think it was like when I did my internship. I loved London. I loved the city. I loved the people. I was like, I want to live here. I want to be here. Let me look what I can do about staying here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out about the Roundhouse. It was like, was it a residency program or was it?
It was a Rising Sounds
it was something
performance.
It was like a upcoming artist thing where
Showcase.
You could apply, a showcase thing. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna just try to apply. And I made it through somehow, even though I was not even from London. I don't know if they knew. And that's where I met you.
Yeah. I remember, and then we did this show and I remember like watching Mona just like do this crazy stuff on synth and I was like, this girl is mad, like she's insane. It was so cool.
But it is so like it's so different from the music that I do now.
Yeah, it is, but it just shows like your scope and like how talented you are.
Oh baby,
everyone was like, wow, this is cool, and she had this like big setup with all the stuff. It was really cool. And that would have been a few years ago now.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago.
Not that long ago, to be honest. But yeah, that's how we met.
So fast forward, basically Mona's ended up with like management based in London, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and now you're kind of here quite often, back and forth between London and Berlin, right?
Yeah, like my main team is based here in London.
Yeah.
Like my agent, my manager, and a lot of people I'm working with.
Was that intentional? Were you thinking like, I'd much rather have a team based in London, or did it just happen that way? Were you sort of talking to people on both sides?
Yeah, I feel like I've been like building a network in London for a few years since I came here first. And I love the music scene here way more than in Germany. Mm. Which sounds a bit weird, but like I don't want to hate on the German music industry.
Everyone has their taste.
Yeah, definitely. But
there'll be people who think the opposite, so
I feel like sometimes people, it's a bit hard to get outside of Germany.
Mm-hmm. You feel like it's a bit more insular.
Yeah. And I really wanted to explore more of the world and more of where the music could go. And I just knew that with an international team.
You are a, what's the word?
What?
Ambitious queen.
No.
She's got
it's just like
it
glued with these people.
Appreciating the London scene.
Yeah, I just love the
so
music scene here, and I was just like connecting with the people, and I feel like
if you do well here, it's like a gateway to other places.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think there's
London,
value in
London is a bit more. It's definitely more international than Berlin. Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about like your inspirations and writing process, because I know you've done quite a lot of like writing camps and stuff like that in the past in Germany, and in London now you're doing lots of sessions.
Yeah.
What's it like being in a room with like other artists and creating under, not like pressure, but I guess you have this bit of time. It must be very different to when you were like a kid and you were just up all night on GarageBand or Logic, like doing whatever you want. do you feel like it feels the same, or do you think it's quite a different thing?
It really depends, to be honest. I feel like if you can get to that place again in a session, that's actually great, because that's like what real creativity is all about. Just like
your inner child just going crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So if these kind of sessions happen, it's the best feeling, I would say. But yeah, it really depends, because I was like doing a lot of like sessions for other people as well. I did like a lot of like pop music writing. I did writing for pitches, for major labels. I did like
like pop.
Yeah.
Like
also, I did like film music. I did corporations for. Not corporations. I did music for commercials and stuff like that. And there were all different aspects of music. So it really depends.
So what made you like decide to go down the DJing avenue, and what kind of made you think, yeah, this is the right thing for me now? Because you've done so many different things. You've got so many talents, potential things you could be doing. I'm just curious, because it's like, it's just interesting.
I just loved also the performance side, definitely, because I've been like performing from such a young age, and I loved being on stage and like creating all these kind of worlds on stage. And like actually during my university period, I also interned at a film school.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and at first I would do like music for a lot of like short films, a lot of like games, animation films, and then later they had like a department where they would do a bit more around like productions and like stage productions, and we would like design all these like actual concerts. Wow. So I would like go there, and we would plan out like a whole performance through with like visuals, lights, and special effects, and
like literally creating a world, telling a story.
Yeah, and I just love that aspect of
doing a show.
Almost like theatrical.
Do you ever get like, do you feel at home on stage, or do you get nervous, or both? Like, do you think those things can be?
It depends. I feel like you always get a bit nervous, but it can be the good nervous, or it could be the
bad. So it just depends.
The anxiety.
But when it
right, really
when it comes together, it's like the best thing ever, right?
Yeah. Oh my god.
When you're in the right headspace and like the right kind of nervous energy. I think that's what's so cool about music, is like you never know what you're going to get or how it's going to go.
Oh yeah.
Like I've had things where I think it's going to be amazing, and it's like the worst thing ever.
Really? Tell me about it.
Oh god, like just when you build something up in your head and then you get there and it's like
it doesn't feel like you
feeling,
imagine it.
Yeah, like the audience maybe is just in a weird place, or something goes wrong, or you're not in the right place.
Oh my god.
And it's like it doesn't connect. And then other times where you kind of go in expecting nothing, and then it's like amazing.
That's so true. It's all about energy, I think. Like,
yeah, I think when the energy in the room is right, and it's like
there's so many aspects of it. Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you feel like you got an experience in thinking about like stage planning and like all of that, which most artists wouldn't have had that experience, I don't think.
I don't know.
I've never gotten behind the scenes on like theatre shows or anything like that. I think
it was more
really
like
cool.
Music shows, like VJ, like where we would like try to like I would do the music, and then another person would like do the visuals, and we would like try to connect everything, you know what I mean? But yeah, in a theatrical sense. That it has to have like a certain timeline and storyline. And I was like, oh my god, this is so fun, I want to do it.
I'm looking forward to seeing your shows when you like do like a big tour or something?
I would love to do like a big show with like lights and visuals and where everything like kind of glues together.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I remember like seeing, for example, Bicep actually at Printworks when I came here. I think it was 2018 or 19. I was never really clubbing in Germany, but I went to their like big live show and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I want to do stuff like that.
Right. So
and then I got to see like Bonobo and like all these like electronical artists. And before that, I was not even into electronic music to be fair.
Right. So this was all at Printworks, Bonobo, and all this like various things.
Not only I think Printworks was the first show where I saw Bicep, but then I got more into it and saw a few artists and yeah, I think
that's pretty cool. So that was like the first time you looked at electronic music and like the DJing scene, and you were like, oh, this is something I could do. Looks really fun. It's like dramatic staging. There's a good energy in the room.
Yeah, and it's also not. I think before that, because my music was not my parents were not really into pop music and electronic music at all. It was always more around like classical and jazz music. I was not really into that world before. And I kind of thought like EDM was all there is.
Yeah.
So when I got to know this like kind of more emotional part of like electronic music, it's almost like a form of like pop music.
Yeah, it is. It's crossed over.
Yeah, it's crossed over, and there's like so many options, and there's so many influences, and I mean, like options are endless, basically.
That's really cool. I feel like that's amazing to have that moment.
That. It's like
to have that moment where you're like, this is it. This is what I need to do right now. Do you ever like incorporate things from like music you liked before? I don't know what you liked before. Before you were like listening to electronic music.
I mean, like my first. When I was really small, I really loved like Rihanna, Nelly Furtado. I think like stuff like that, like really pop.
Yeah.
But then I got into like Massive Attack.
Oh, trip hops.
Yeah, like it's also electronic music, but a bit more the down tempo side of it. Then I got to know like Bonobo, Teed. I was like very late with it, but I just loved.
It's quite a natural progression, actually.
That organic touch of the music. Well, it's still electronic. Like it's something that can work listening at home or going out, you know.
Yeah, it can be both. That's really awesome. Like, what have you found? Let's try that again. What have you found to be some of the best moments in the last year since you've kind of been DJing and pursuing this avenue?
Oh, it's so funny because I don't even see myself as a DJ yet because I just learned it last summer. Before that, I did like a couple of like live performances, but the whole project, the Mona Yim project, just came into place during lockdown. Yeah, where there was no clubs open actually.
So how did it come to be?
I produced all this like dancey, cute music at home in my bedroom without even knowing how to DJ and without even like really being out.
So it came more from like the music you were making. Yeah, it just happened to be more dancey. The music was
first. I definitely see myself as a
producer,
artist, musician, whatever you want to call it. But then I got to open for DJ Seinfeld at his first live show in London at the Coco Club.
So that was your first proper gig?
And that was like my first gig, and
that's insane.
My first, and it was like a DJ gig, and so I literally had to teach myself how to DJ like two weeks prior of that.
What? So like your manager goes, hey, like I know you're a producer, and like artist, but do you want to like do a DJ set? And you're just like, yeah, can do it already. Is that how it went? Or were you just
maybe a little bit? I don't want to say it because I might get in trouble. But
it's too late for them to change their mind now. You're legit now, girl.
But yeah, like I was so scared. I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. But I was like, I was really passionate about it. I read every like article about how to beat match. Like,
I'm dying.
It was so funny. And then I played that show, and it was such a great feeling. At first, I was like, "Oh my god, when will they find out I can't do this?" Actually, but once I got more into the set, I was just like, "Wow, this is such a great feeling," and I feel like you can give people so much back with it. Like this like exchange of energy.
Yes.
I've never had that before because I haven't played such a big show before yet. But just like feeling this like synergy between you and the crowd and the music, it was just like amazing. So
that's really cool. So like I'm still laughing at the fact. Did you know that you probably would have to like learn how to DJ kind of thing? Because obviously like your management is like quite DJ based or electronic music. Did you think like I'm gonna have to learn
I also
this?
wanted to do it, but because of
being
COVID it was not really possible.
So you had like a proper baptism of fire.
And I've been doing a few shows since then, but I definitely mess up sometimes. I get really...
I think everyone does, firstly.
I think nothing can prepare you really for...
It's the best way to learn sometimes is to just do it. Say yes. And like show up and go for it.
And go for it and mess up and laugh about it later because...
And it's
all a learning process. And
it takes balls to do that. I think sometimes like as women it's hard to do that. Like I doubt myself a lot.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, you're an amazing girl though.
It's that imposter syndrome of like I don't know what I'm doing.
Also the feeling you have to... I sometimes have these things that I think I have to perform even better than my male colleagues because I might get judged for being a woman. I don't know if you have that.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's subconscious though. I don't know if I think about it, but then I find myself being like, oh, well, they clearly know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they have this energy of like confidence or just security in themselves. And so I think, well, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to have to be even better. So I feel like at least I deserve to be here kind of thing.
But we have to get rid of that thought. We definitely deserve to be here.
Have you had many moments where it's like been on your mind where you're like you feel that pressure or that fear in the back of your head, or is it something you've learned to just be like shut up?
In terms of being a woman in the industry?
And just like doubting like your place in a moment in a room, like when you're writing.
Oh god, I definitely it took me ages to get into a place where I'm like confident about myself and my skill. And I still definitely have moments where I get really insecure and doubt myself and everything because people definitely judge you. I feel like now it gets better. People start to like respect me more for what I do, but if I look back, like even like 1 year, people would treat you almost, especially like I feel like sometimes older men in like sessions, they would always like question your ability to do things. Yeah. It would be like, oh, did you really produce that yourself? Oh, wow.
I've had that so many times.
It was not even like meant, it was not even meant in a bad way.
No, it's just like the shock.
Like, wow,
you're capable of
of
producing.
doing this. And I'm like, yeah, shut up. you know.
And there's so many better ways to say that, like, wow, I love that production, that's insane production, like that's so amazing. But instead it's like, oh, you did this, you really did this by yourself. I hate that.
Yeah, not a good thing to say. Also, sometimes people were like, at the start of my career, I would say, people would come to me being like, well, so you're a woman. People are looking for more women in this industry, so you should really make use of that. But you need to be quick, because there's going to be a lot of women who want to do it.
Who's like,
and if you don't do it like quickly, then there's not going to be place for you. And I was like, how can you say that?
What?
There's so many men doing these things.
That's a wild thing to say.
And there's a place for everyone. Like, I had that from many like men in the industry, like older men.
Are they like creatives or more like label type or executive types?
Both, actually.
Wow. I wouldn't know what to say. I'd just be like, oh
my God. Yeah. But what kind of experiences do you have?
Similar. I've definitely had the like, oh, you produce this yourself. Yeah. I find myself typecast a lot. Oh wow,
put in
the
a
soul
certain
thing.
box.
Yeah,
oh, God,
the soulful thing. And it's like, okay, I get it, but if I were white, I wouldn't have that said about me.
That stamp on you.
Yeah, from the get-go. And I don't know,
sometimes
it's not a majority,
people,
but people as well who aren't in music, they're usually like the worst, because they're just like, oh yeah, so you soul singer, and I'm like, okay.
And you're like,
It's better. People don't assume I'm a singer anymore so much. Now I like notice it, whereas before it was like, oh, so you sing, do you? And I'm like, yes, and I play piano, and I produce, and I compose.
And you do
like,
everything.
You know what I mean? And you're
an artist, and you're a producer, and you can do all of this on your own. I feel like,
yeah. So it can be frustrating when you're just like reduced to a soul singer instantly.
I know.
And then you have to explain, or
the explaining bit is so annoying.
Yeah. Or sometimes I've found just like being in a room, especially when it's like music tech or like music production or that kind of more engineering type stuff. More likely, I think 5 years ago, you would be the only woman, or you know, there just would be more men, and then you feel a little bit like, yeah, that thing of having to be better. And I would hate to like ask questions and look stupid and like be the stereotype of the girl that doesn't know what she's doing. You know what I mean? But yes, it is improving. I think more and more, it's more normalized.
Yeah,
which is really
it's
cool.
improving, but yeah, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah,
there's still a long way to go.
Let's see. So, what about some challenges of the last year? So we talked, I think I asked you about highlights. I don't know if we got through those highlights of the last year.
I don't know.
Playing your shows, obviously.
Playing shows, releasing music.
Was like the top
just
two maybe things that where you were like, this is really cool this year?
Obviously, like playing these big shows. Like, for example, I got to open for Ben Böhmer, which is like a really
nice... Sorry?
Ben Böhmer, he's like a really nice electronic artist. And I got to perform like O2 Academy Brixton as like one of my first gigs, which is like...
It was huge.
That was just insane, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm a big list girl. I have a list for every aspect of my life, basically. So I remember like 1 year ago or something, I would like make a list of things I would want to achieve.
Yeah.
And like venues I want to play, like place labels I want to release, like everything. And I feel like in some terms, a lot of the things came true.
Wow.
Like
That's
playing
amazing.
Printworks, playing O2 Academy or something like that. I would never have thought that like in a
you'd actually get
such
to
a short amount of time it would actually happen. and people would receive it in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just what I've said before, like the synergy of like sharing music and the audience and you playing, and that's something I didn't know before. Like in that in that amount, I would say. And definitely also like just getting out there. Like I was making music for such a long time. I was working on so many like different projects and aspects of the music industry, and I felt this year it was the first time I was actually
willing to put
myself out there. And it felt a bit like relieving. I'm still definitely not. I'm like constantly evolving. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing actually, basically. But I feel like I'm getting more confident, and
I think sometimes like taking action, you know, it's a chicken and egg situation. Because sometimes you get stuck where it's like, I don't feel confident, so I can't do this thing. And then you don't get any more confident.
I'm such an overthinker. I know about you, but I'm such a sensitive person and emotional. And like, I always think it's not good enough and blah, 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 blah. But sometimes you just have to like realize that kind of the journey to where you want to go is like part of the process. And it's okay to put yourself out there. And even if you're not like 100% there yet, because it's all a process, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's super inspiring. That story, because your story, because I think it's taking that first step and putting yourself out there, and actually that process builds the confidence. But it's such a brave thing to like go for it and just say, do you know what, I'm gonna try this.
Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better than to wait forever. But I don't ask me. As I said, I don't know what I'm doing most of the time.
What's been some of the challenges then of that process of like growing and actually building that confidence? Have you had many growing pains? And what's been hard about that?
Lots of pressure, definitely. Especially what I just said, like with the overthinking. Just getting over the thought that things are good enough. And it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes patience. Not everything goes to plan. Sometimes you have to realize you're a human being and not a machine.
Yeah.
And you will react differently on different days. Like especially like with performing, your taste is gonna change, like experiences are gonna change you. It's just like this, when there's so much happening at once, it gets a bit overwhelming. And also struggling with social media and comparison and like you know.
I know.
You know the bit.
I think everyone today knows, because it's
hard. It's hard.
I think it's hard because it's part of the job in a sense.
It's part of the job, and there's so many like beautiful aspects of it, like connecting with people you couldn't connect with before because they're like on the other side of the world or something.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's a big part of how
everyone's like showing their best parts.
Yeah.
And that can get quite intimidating, I feel like, especially when you're like starting out and you look at all these like big people who are doing amazing things and you're like, oh, why I'm not there yet.
Forgotten where we even were. I think I was asking you about like challenges of the last year, and I think you kind of summed up some really good points about just being human, and that it's hard growing. It's a challenge.
You can get lost very quickly in this industry, I would say.
Yeah.
It's that's a thing that I really like cherished through, or like that I really like realized throughout the last month. So you really need to ground yourself because people will put their expectations on you and their own values, and
you're just like constantly around different people, aren't you?
Yeah.
So every time you interact with someone, you're like almost rubbing off, energy. They're rubbing off their energy.
Yeah,
on you.
definitely. And you have to constantly be reminding yourself of why you even started and like what do you want to stand for, because it is an industry.
Yeah.
And even though like you and as an artist might be doing it for the music and for all the right reasons, you never know who you're going to deal with.
Yeah.
And just still be consistent and still act with kindness and like all of these
that takes
things. Yeah.
A tremendous amount of courage.
But still standing up for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It reminds me of that.
Tell me.
No, it just
tell me about it.
I was just thinking of a poem, If. And yeah, it's like basically about the world being quite intense and crazy, and you just trying to act with integrity and retaining your sense of self. And that's hard when you're sensitive. And to be an artist, you probably have to be a bit sensitive. So it is a hard combination to navigate, but I think your story just is testament to the fact that you're doing it, you're walking the walk, girl. So I think a lot of people would find that really inspiring and take that as some advice for wanting to like be in the industry.
I hope so.
Yeah,
because there's really good sides about it. I hope I didn't like.
No, I think there's good and bad with everything.
Yeah, and
often the better something is, sometimes the harder the downsides are to navigate, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think I've kind of covered everything.
You were amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing and like being vulnerable and open. Because it's inspiring for me, so I'm sure other people will connect and relate to that. Thank you so much, and listen to Mona Yim on Spotify.
Check
everywhere.
me out. Check my SoundCloud, bro.
What's your next show?
My next show is Parklife Festival in Manchester.
That's a big deal, though, right? I've heard of it, so it must be a big deal.
It's a big festival. It's like 1975 playing, and
gosh,
Skrillex, Fredrigan, I think Anderson Park.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? Wow, okay. So it's probably sold out already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not sure, maybe. There's still something left, but I'm not, I don't know.
Keep your eyes peeled, basically. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. That was lovely.
Thanks for joining me today. If you want to connect and share your thoughts on the podcast, we're on socials at Noise ITG Podcast. Please don't be shy. I'm genuinely fascinated to hear what you think. Next time, I'm going to be talking to Rarely Always, who is actually one of my favourite artists, and I'm so excited that he agreed to do this. His music can only be described as distinctive, but there's some hip-hop in there. He raps, he produces, he's a musician, so I can't wait. I'll see you next Friday.